begin this bulletin with some breaking news. Turkey says its military operation in northern Syria has ended. Operation Euphrates Shield was launched last August with the aim of pushing Daesh back from the border. The Prime Minister, Binali Yildirim, says the country's soldiers and their Free Syrian Army allies have achieved that goal. Well, for the latest on this, we can speak to our Middle East reporter, Abu Bakr al-Shamahi, who's joining us from Gaziantep. Abu Bakr, good to speak to you. So, the operation is over. How will it be judged as a success?
Well, there's three things that the Turkish National Security Council spoke about. The first was the national security of Turkey. And here in Gaziantep, we're obviously very close to the Syrian border. And over the past few weeks and months, we've been able to go around the border towns and really see what the situation is like since Operation Euphrates Shield started. And you can see that the situation definitely has improved. In the past, before the operation started, there were rocket attacks from Daesh coming over the border. We've seen that, of course, completely stop now. We went to Karkamış, a town right on the border there, and there's a tea house there that had to close down before Operation Euphrates Shield that's now been able to open. So on that front, along with the security wall that's obviously being built across the border, things have improved. The other was to prevent the threat from Daesh. So again, you had the rocket attacks, but 2,000 odd square kilometers have been able have been cleared of Daesh in northern Syria. They've taken towns like Jarablus, towns like Al-Bab, and of course the symbolic town to Daesh of Dabaq. And then thirdly, you have providing a safe zone for Syrians in the north of the country, for Syrian civilians. And in that regard, again, there's been improvements there, and many people who've had to evacuate from opposition areas across Syria have been able to go and seek refuge in northern Syria. But of course, when Turkey talks about Operation Euphrates Shield being against terrorists, it doesn't just mean Daesh. It also means the YPG, a group that Turkey considers the Syrian wing of the PKK terror group. And in that regard, the YPG are still on certain areas of the border. They still have territory on the Syrian side, so in Afrin, over in the west of Syria, the northwest of Syria, and also in other areas such as Manbij, which sits just to the east of the Euphrates River. And of course, the Turkish government did previously state that the YPG forces had to move across to the east of the Euphrates, and in Manbij and in other areas, they still remain to the west of the Euphrates River. So different scales of success, you can say, and on some of them you perhaps say that this has been a success, but on others, certain things still to be completed.
Absolutely. Well, that does beg the question then, Abu Bakr, as to what comes next.
Well, I've just mentioned Manbij there and those areas. I mean, the Turkish government did speak about taking Manbij from the YPG, from the SDF forces, which are predominantly made up of the YPG. But what we've seen in recent weeks is essentially the Syrian regime coming in and forming a buffer zone between the YPG and between the Turkish-backed FSA forces. And along with that, you also see American forces in Manbij, patrolling Manbij as a sign of support for the SDF, as well as Russian forces as well in the area. So on that front, it appears that Turkey doesn't want confrontation, especially with the Americans and the Russians. And of course, you've got to take into the context of this wider rapprochement between Turkey and Russia that has occurred over the past year, and again has contributed to Turkey trying to avoid confrontation with the Russians in particular. But Binali Yildirim did, of course, say that if Turkey's national security is threatened in the future, the operations could continue, but they'll be under a different name. So there he's providing a note to any external observers that the end of Operation Euphrates Shield doesn't necessarily mean the end of Turkish operations in Syria in the future.
Okay, Abu Bakr for now in Gaziantep, thank you.